Okay, welcome to, this is going to be the last episode of Uncensored for Season 1, and a lot of you have been inquiring why there hasn't been a single episode of Uncensored since March, and I do want to offer apologies for that. I could say it's because I've been working anywhere from 45 to 60 hours a week at my paycheck job, because not all of us are independently wealthy. So sometimes some of us have to work jobs that get the bills paid while we're trying to make films, videos, or whatever art you make. I don't know that I would call this show art, but I've always tried to have method to my madness with this, and this is not goodbye, people. Uncensored is not being canceled. There will be at least 2 more seasons, because I own the media group, and I have total control over when it gets fucking canceled and when it stays the fuck on the air. But at the same time, I'm finding the recent political climate, and this is not an attack on Donald Trump necessarily, but I'm finding the recent climate that is being caused by the friction between the current administration and people who support the administration and people who are against his being in office. I'm finding the friction on both sides, Republicans and Democrats. I'm finding myself unable to compete material-wise. I mean, you got one side accusing all the media of being fake news, which honestly most people do consider the media outlets to be somewhat questionable at best anyway. So sorry, Trump, the fake news comments, you're really not telling anybody anything new, but is that to say that, I mean, we all know that MSNBC is the Democratic news network, referring to the Democratic Party, and that Fox News is the Republican news network. So, yeah, all news outlets have a bias. Yeah, it's I mean hearing conservatives and liberals go off on each other, it's it's hard to stay relevant, and I can't really pick a side. I have to stay objective, and right now conservatives and liberals are both acting like assholes. And as someone who is staunchly independent, who, yes, has been a member of both parties and told both of them to go take a fucking hike, I thought I would have, I've had a lot of potential material. I just really haven't had the time to use it, and I'm not sure that as far as this season that I'm able to compete, so I'm going to take a few months off, and it's the end of the season anyway. It's May, and I'll be back in September with more unfucking censored. Now, just a word of advisement. Season 2 is probably going to take more of a satire and parody turn because, and you'll have to excuse me, I've got a sweat bead running down my nose. It was probably a mistake to wear a suit coat when it's 80 degrees outside, and I haven't turned the air conditioning on yet. With Ohio weather being what it is, we pretty much do not have fucking spring. We have 3 seasons. Well, actually 4 seasons. Fucking snow, fucking mud, fucking scorching ass sun, and more fucking mud. And no, orange barrels are not a season because we always have those. I was actually over the weekend, I was doing some videography out of state for a fundraiser, and I mean, going up, I went around Cleveland, and they got this, it looks like they're expanding the express lanes out on 271, and it's a mess. So coming home, I thought, well, maybe I'll slip down by way of Akron and take 76. That was a mistake, too, because coming out of Akron and Barberton, I hit the same orange barrels that I swear were there when I was still trucking, and I got out of the truck and at the end of 2014. Yeah. I'm going to switch cans real quick because, sorry about the microphone. We're doing this episode handheld. Bearing in mind, the season finale of Uncensored is always going to be some goofy ass shit or something interesting, and in the name of experimentality, this is like this one. We're going handheld and maybe a little Shyamalan. No offense to Shyamalan, I actually like some of his films, but you do see the microphone occasionally, or at least the shadow. Although actually in some films I have loved, I'll go with A Simple Twist of Fate, for instance, on this one, because it's actually in a scene where an actress I have a lot of respect for. I actually recently just got a tweet from. Long story. And it's but a scene she was in with an actor who was probably about 2 or 3 at the time that would be in their 20s now. They were, for about a second, the shadow of the boom mic is visible. And that's actually referenced on imdb.com in the goofs for that film. Most films, that wasn't Shyamalan who directed that, though. He was probably not even out of film school yet. Well, maybe. 1994. But he didn't direct it. But, make a long story short, I lose my train of thought again. That's the only bad thing about doing the occasional unscripted show, which I still like to do the unscripted sometimes, like I did with the predecessor show, Unscripted, Uncut, Uncensored. It's not that it's, well, and there was, well, this is one of those shows where anything that can fucking happen will fucking happen. And I'll just do what the, okay, sorry. Gotta do that. I'll just do what what a lot of people tend to do in debates. Usually when they disagree with me about something, I'll just ramble on for a minute so I can keep talking. But because, unlike them, I don't necessarily like to hear myself talk. there are a lot of people who they'll say anything just to have the last word in an argument because they like to hear themselves talk. I was going to do a thing about Ohio accents in this season. I'm going to kind of gloss over it because there are those who say we don't really have an accent and some who say that we do. I've gone to other parts of the country when I was in over-the-road trucking. I mean, I might be in New York State one week and Texas the next week. I actually even had the pleasure of New York City once making a delivery there. And with all due respect to the same actress I was mentioning from the movie about a minute ago, and other people who live there, I don't ever want to go into that city with a 53-foot fucking trailer ever the fuck again. That's, I mean, you pretty much have to plan your day. You have to pretty much call it a day if you go in there once and back. And that was just to IKEA in Brooklyn, which is actually fairly easy to get to by NYC standards in a truck. Who knows? I actually will be going back to New York in the near future to do a book signing if I can find a host for the event, and I want to get Nobody's Property rewritten a little bit because I found some technical flaws, and fuck damn it, I'm going to fix them. Is fuck damn it even a word? Well, I guess it is because I just coined it. Maybe I didn't just coin it. Maybe somebody else on Urban Dictionary already did. I love that site. Some actually mistakenly credit me with coining film school English. I did not. That's also on Urban Dictionary. Do look it up sometime when you get the chance. And I will probably provide a link. Anyway, Guide to Ohio Accents. There is no single Ohio accent. Okay? There's people from Ohio are kind of, if you look at this, we're kind of right. We border the South, so there are some of us, like some people from Ohio, especially the southeastern part of the state, are going to sound like they're from Kentucky or West Virginia, especially if you get down around Marietta or Portsmouth. I've noticed, which are right on the Ohio River. For some reason. Now, the three C's, two of the three C's sound very different from the third one. That's Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. People from Columbus tend to drop O's. Now, I was actually born in Columbus, but I grew up closer to Lima. And yes, it's pronounced Lima, not Lima. Pierce Brosnan, with all due respect to you, you fucked up in the Thomas Crown affair. It's Lima, Ohio. Lima, Peru, Lima, Ohio. But you were the best James Bond ever, so I forgive you. You're allowed a few fuck ups when you, well, actually, Roger Moore was the best James Bond ever, but Pierce Brosnan was a close second. I don't know, maybe I'm rambling. Fuck it. And we're talking about Ohio accents anyway. And yes, the camera is shaky. This kind of, it's a little shakier than it was in Mountain Men, which was handheld. It's an independent film from Canada. Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. At a few points, I wondered if maybe they were just following a few people around with the camera. It felt, watching it felt like they were following the, instead of a fictional story about characters, it seemed like they were following normal people around in their daily lives, which, as an independent filmmaker, is what I want to see in films. And it's on Netflix. It's not The Mountain Men. It's on the History Channel. It's the... It's another one. But, yeah, 2014. That's another one. Look it up. Well worth seeing. But we're talking about Ohio accents, so with all due respect to everyone who was in that film, I'm getting back to this. Now, I have noticed a particular accent in people who are, depending on whether they come from the part of Ohio that is north of US 30 or south of US 30. Now, I'm from south of that divider line. So, people from north of that line, that's, yes, the mic was totally visible. You're Toledo, Cleveland, northeastern part of the state. They tend to have they're more likely to have the raising. And in Toledo, you have the thing going on. There's a lot of the Michigan accent going on where people might say, they might pronounce Merry as in Merry Christmas, Mary the name, and Mary as in to marry someone. They may pronounce them exactly the same, and I tend to do this. Not always. I think I did it just now. Not everybody from Ohio says wash or wash. And I say wash, but a lot of people, and this is not exclusive to region of the state. This, I believe, comes over from Pittsburghese. People from Pittsburgh generally say wash. But, I mean, my mom was born in Dayton, and I've heard her say it, although she tends to use wash and wash interchangeably. I always say wash. Groceries. Some people in Ohio pronounce it groceries. It's... the actual proper pronunciation is groceries, and usually I want to say this happens more in the extreme north and south portions of Ohio than toward the center, because, I mean, those of us from the central part of the state, and, well, Logan County is still kind of central. We're west central. Not to be confused with Logan, Ohio, which is more in southeastern. But I've been there too. Nice place. Really good place to get Chinese food. Over by the Walmart there. Excuse me. I got sweat falling in my mouth. This is what you get for trying to do a show at 6:10 a.m. on a day where it's already 80 degrees at 6 in the morning, and you decided, oh, let's be a little more formal and wear our suit coat. But, yeah, the other thing, I'm trying to think, there are other things you'll find. Okay, Another thing you'll find with Ohio accents, and by the way, we pronounce it Cincinnati, not Cincinnati, although people over 80 around here sometimes pronounce it, the I as but everybody I know over 80 calls the city at our southwest corner Cincinnati. My paternal grandmother called it Cincinnati, but it's Cincinnati. The I in Lima is pronounced like pie, not P. That's how I always tell people. If you want to go to Lima, go to Peru. Actually, don't go to Peru because, well, just don't. Americans tend to get put in prison for 20 years for political reasons, such as Lori Berenson. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, I apologize. Switching hands again. Why did I go handheld? Oh, I know why. It's more independent. And I'm an independent filmmaker, you studio motherfuckers. So don't even try to sell me, because I've got Bitcoin. I don't need you. I don't need the fucking studio system. I've got Bitcoin. I've got mobile technology. I have an $800 DSLR camera. Who needs studios? I'll start my own studio and I'll compete with you guys. Actually, I used to taunt one of my stalkers by saying, one day all of you will work for me. Well, probably not the truth, and I don't want to be I wouldn't want to be the studio executive of a multinational film conglomeration. I just want my own independent production company, and I have it. But back to Ohio accents, because I'm ranting. Now, another town in the northeast corner is actually pronounced Conneaut, not Canute, though I've heard people pronounce it both ways. But whenever I've asked the locals, and I actually used to get this wrong, Bellefontaine, the county seat of Logan County, it is pronounced Bellefontaine, not Bellefontaine. Okay? If you come here and you call it Bellefontaine, you will be laughed out of the county. Not really. We'll laugh at you behind your back. But, and I believe the town up by Sandusky where I stayed at a hotel once is actually Milan. Not Milan, but don't quote me on that. Because I only stayed in a hotel there one night because I was going to Cedar Point. And there's a really nice place to stay up there. Cheap, and I don't stay in expensive rooms. I just got back from an out-of-state video shoot, and the place I stayed at was $48 a night. That was discounted. It's normally about $70. And that included free breakfast, which I could have had this morning, because when I book things, I always book an extra day, just in case. I have a bad habit of oversleeping, so a lot of times it's cheaper to just book the third day than to try to book 2 days and have a late checkout fee, because a lot of times they'll charge it based on the higher rate. And if you wind up out shooting video, if you're on a video shoot that runs late into the night and you don't get back to your room until 4 in the morning, again, you don't have to worry about oversleeping or being too tired to make the 300-mile drive home safely. And when you're only paying $48 for a room that would have cost $70 to book for 2 nights, but $48 for 3, it's like, I was only a C student in math, but that only works out to about $10 difference anyway. Not to have to be rushed. And it's, yeah. So, we're going to take one last quick shot of my nice little Poisonous Sansevieria collection for the season. You will see these a lot in my film work and film and video work because these have a history in the film industry. Ever since the Golden Age, this plant has been used very extensively. I could come up with a whole list of titles, and I may come up with an IMDb list of titles anyway, just for fun sometime. I was a little annoyed to see Sansevieria in these final hours because a movie about the end of the world, which means all those Sansevieria are going to die. I mean, never mind the humans. Just kidding. I follow one of the cast members on Twitter. Who's about the only one who has a Twitter account, or I'd follow all of them. Because they're fucking awesome at what they do. Anyway, I'm going to zip my lip for the season for Uncensored before I start rambling too much because, and I'm not even sleep deprived this time. Last week I tweeted quite a few people on, like I made quite a few goofy ass tweets to some people that I follow on Twitter after 25 hours without sleep, and I even felt the need to apologize to all of them afterwards, which one even came back and said, "Hope you got some sleep," which I did. I actually crashed after that 25 hours of being awake straight. Never, ever pour energy drink in coffee, especially if you don't normally drink caffeine. So there's for the PSA announcement. That would be a good PSA announcement. We'll get back to that. But it was, things got interesting, so I'm trying to be a little more careful now. And that's just about going to wrap it up for that. This will be a wrap for season 1 of Uncensored, but Uncensored will fucking return Saturday, September 2nd, 2017. I'm currently tentatively going for a 10 p.m. I don't know if airtime is the right term because this is on YouTube, so yeah. I will be back on Saturday, September 2nd, 2017. I'm taking the summer off of the show to attempt to make it a lot better than Season 1 was. I'm not saying Season 1 was necessarily good or bad, but obviously with anything, no matter how good or bad something is, you want to learn from your mistakes and do better the next time if it's not so great. And even if you find you liked some of the episodes, I still want to keep improving. Anybody who gets to the point where they say, "Oh, everything I do is perfect and there's nothing I could do to improve," avoid them. And that's all I have as a wrap for season 1 of Uncensored. And remember, thumbs up if you like it. Why are you watching? If you don't, peace out.